Welcome back, everybody. We're going to momentarily interrupt the theme we had going with Viewer Request Month to bring you another episode of Game Day Grub, where I show you guys how to elevate your tailgate, your Super Bowl party, your weekend game watching events. Guys, when you're talking about Super Bowl or sports get-togethers, the one thing that cannot be compromised is the finger foods, particularly wings. If you have no wings, you have no Super Bowl event. So before you guys call and get your next Super Bowl party catered, I want to show you how to make some really incredible wings. We're not doing one flavor. I'm showing you guys how to do 4 different styles of wings to impress your guests and to land you a touchdown at your next Super Bowl event. So with that being said, there's a lot to this, so let's get to prep. So in front of me are 4 pounds of assorted chicken wings divided equally, and those have been put in the corner, but for good reasons. You'll see later. All we're going to be doing now is hitting these guys up with a dry brine. You've seen me do this a few times on the channel, so basically all that means is we're going to give a heavy coating of kosher salt on both sides, making sure we cover all those wings with that beautiful salt. And what that's going to do is over time is extract any excess moisture from our wings. We can't have these guys going in wet because we want the ultimate crispy wings, so this is a must. And as for our segregated chicken wings over here, we're going to give a different type of dry brine. We're going a little Asian, but it may not be exactly what you expect. So we're going to go on first with some nice garlic powder. Be sure to be liberal with these, as I'm not measuring. And then we're going to go in with some ground ginger. You can use real ginger if you want, but I'm going to promote the dry seasonings because that's going to help extract moisture, which is the goal. And then some nice kosher salt. We're going to get that all nice and mixed in until all of our wings are thoroughly coated. And then we're going to let these bad boys dry brine uncovered for 1 hour. But if you have the fridge space and extra time on your hands, for maximum results, you can let these dry brine overnight. Brine time is up, so we're going to go ahead and start cooking our wings, starting with the simplest yet most iconic wing of all time, and that is the buffalo wing. And this next step is critical to give our wings the maximum crispiness possible. We've got our oil set to 375 degrees. We're going to raw dog those guys in and start working on our sauce. And I don't care what part of the world you come from, there's only one buffalo sauce, and that's Frank's. So over a medium heat, we have 1 cup of Frank's Red Hot, and we're going to let that go until we start to see some steam and a little bit of a simmer. We can't get this too hot, because if it comes to a boil, it's going to separate the fats from the butter, and it will not emulsify. So all I've done here is add in 1 stick of unsalted butter, and we're just going to very gently start moving this butter around in the sauce to achieve a gentle melt. Also, moving it this way is going to help the butter incorporate into the sauce. And keep in mind to turn down the heat as needed to keep your sauce from breaking. And after a few minutes over a low simmer, we have a sauce that looks very familiar. Guys, if you still see streaks of yellow or separation, you need to reduce your heat accordingly and continue to stir slowly until emulsified. And all we're going to do now that it's done is transfer this beautiful sauce into a nice large mixing bowl and then add in our freshly cooked wings. And guys, these wings only took 8 minutes and they are perfection. So all we're going to do now is give these wings a nice toss into this buffalo sauce, which you can see is not going very well for me. So we're going to help it along with our handy dandy tongs until all of our wings are fully coated. And then this next step is important. We're going to go ahead and start putting it on our plate, shaking off any excess buffalo that may be on it, because any excess moisture is going to eliminate the crispiness we just achieved. And after that's done, behold our beautiful, well-cooked buffalo chicken wings. And this next wing selection might not be so obvious to you guys, but let's break it down. In this bowl is 1 cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and just some freshly cracked black pepper to taste. And then we're just simply going to be tossing these wings in the flour mixture, pressing down aggressively, making sure every inch of these wings are covered. We're going for a traditional breaded wing ding. This is great for people who are afraid of spice, afraid of flavor, afraid of different, afraid of life, or children. But guys, please, stop inviting your flavorless friends over. It's just not good for you. And now that all of our little wingmen are breaded thoroughly, we're going to take them to the deep fryer or whatever vessel you're cooking in. Now this is a little bit different than our buffalo wings. Our cooking oil is set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to drop these bad boys in, and we're going to shoot for anywhere between 6 to 9 minutes. And about 8 minutes through, we've got a really good crisp on these bad boys, and they are temping well over 165 degrees, which is our target temp. So we're going to pull these guys out of the oil, let them drain for a second, put them on the platter. And now that half of our wing platter has been completed, it's time to move on to the next phase of platter making, and that's our veggie tray. Oh yeah, we're doing our own veggie platter. So what I have here is one whole stalk of celery. I'm just going to remove the core and all the leafy pieces and yellow parts that happen to live at the top of the celery. And you guys may very well be wondering why I'm going through all the trouble of making a veggie tray. Simply put, if you put in an order for a wing platter and a veggie tray at your local supermarket, or at least mine, you're going to be paying anywhere from 60 to $100 depending on the size of the tray you order. This is going to save you tons of moolah. And now that our celery is all nicely trimmed and cleaned up, we're going to take these celery ribs, put them side by side, and break them down into some smaller sticks. Now guys, these ribs are different lengths, so we're going to have some variance in size when it comes to these bad boys. All I'm doing right now is trying to break them down smaller in halves, so that way they can be a little more manageable. And once I start to line them up on this party platter, I want to measure them together and cut off any of those excessive ends. Now that being said, mine aren't perfect, and I ended up missing some, like that giant piece that's sticking out of the tray, but it happens, right? Once we got them all lined up in a nice and orderly fashion, we're going to leave some space in the center for a dip, maybe. And then we're going to come on with our beautifully washed organic baby carrots. And then we're just going to very lovingly tuck back our infant rabbit food to where it neatly covers the back half of the tray. And you guess it, it ain't a veggie tray without a homemade dip. Today, we're going for a homemade ranch dip. Now, you guys already know I don't like ranch dressing, but I do love the sour cream based ranch dips. And this is a homemade version. So what I'm putting in the bowl here are just 2 8-ounce or 1 16-ounce container of full-fat sour cream. And then we're going to add to it a 1/4 cup of buttermilk, because obviously ranch has buttermilk. And then we're going to add to it fresh herbs. Yes, fresh herbs. This is 3/4 teaspoon of fresh chopped dill, 3/4 teaspoon of freshly chopped parsley, and then 3/4 teaspoon of fresh chives. And then we're going to get that all mixed in until we've gotten all the liquid and that cream combined, and it's a nice, thick, homogeneous mixture. Alright, and once we got it to a dip-like consistency, we're going to go ahead and season this bad boy up. And we're going in with 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then some freshly cracked black pepper to taste. If you've ever seen those house-made ranches in the restaurants, they have a lot of that fresh cracked black pepper. So I'm going really generous with this to give that restaurant quality vibe. And then we're going to whip this bad boy up like it owes us money until all of our fresh herbs and powdered seasonings are fully combined. Then I'm just going to put this in the fridge until everything is ready to serve. And now it's time to turn our attention back to the main event, which is our remaining wings. So in this bowl is 1 stick of softened room temperature unsalted butter, to which I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of kosher salt and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. And yes, you just saw me grab the wrong bottle. And you guys may already know where I'm going with this. This next batch of wings are going to be garlic parm wings. You heard me, because they're freaking delicious. And then to this, we're going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of our remaining fresh parsley, roughly chopped, and then just a small amount of ground black pepper. I'm going really light with this because I don't want to add a whole lot of heat. I'm just trying to bring some balance to all the rich flavors here. And then after that, we are going to completely cover the entire surface area of our beautiful garlic butter with some freshly shredded Parmesan cheese, and that's it. We're just going to fold it in, and it's ready for our wings. And speaking of wings, each of these last 2 batches are going to be breaded identically, so in each bowl are 1.5 cups of just plain cornstarch, unseasoned, because we have a lot of flavor and a lot of salt already. So we're just going to roll these guys around and press them down until they are fully coated. That cornstarch is pretty much an insurance policy that guarantees that these wings will stay crispy even after being subjected to those thick sauces, including that Asian sauce, which I have not yet shared with you, but I'm completely psyched about, because while the dry brine guarantees a lot of internal moisture to our proteins and a crispy exterior, the thicker the sauce, the quicker that can be undone. Alright, so these 2 batches are going to be cooked identically. So we are going to be going for a double fry method because texture is everything when it comes to these wings. So for our first fry cycle, we're going to cook them on 325 degree oil for 6 minutes. Then we're going to pull them up and then increase our temperature to 375 degrees. And then these will cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. I let mine stay in for 3 minutes, and then they tempt right at 190. And so we're going to pull these bad boys out, let them drain for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to add them while they're still hot. This is the key to our beautiful garlic parm butter. And then we're just going to toss this in this beautiful garlic butter until it's all nicely melted and our wings are thoroughly coated and it becomes a garlic parm sauce. Kind of like what you see here. Then we're going to immediately take these wings out of the bowl and place them on our tray, shaking off any excess garlic butter that might be hanging onto our wings. And then we're just simply going to garnish with some extra Parmesan cheese. And now that those are nice and plated up, we're going to go ahead and start cooking our last round of wings. And guys, just as a refresher, we're going to cook these for 6 minutes in 325 degree oil. Then we're going to crank the heat to 375 and let it cook for an additional 2 to 3 minutes. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and start working on our sauce. So in a wok, our large cast iron pan over medium-high heat, we've got just enough canola oil to make a small pool at the bottom of the pan, and then we're going to start sauteing off 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Now guys, if your pan or wok gets a little too hot, we're going to go ahead and start dialing back the heat because we do not want any of this to burn. Now guys, we're not making just any kind of Asian wings. We are making Korean fried gochujang wings. Guys, I didn't go to a specialty shop or anything to get any of the ingredients. All this can be found at Walmart. Link to the gochujang in description. So let's go ahead and add in a half a cup of gochujang. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and start getting this mixed off with our garlic, making sure everything starts to sizzle and get aromatic. And then to that, we're going to be adding in 3 tablespoons of ketchup. Ketchup is commonly used in making Asian sauces. Alright, and then after that, we're going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. If you don't have that, then regular white distilled will work. And then we're going to go ahead and start getting this combined, making sure we break up all that nice pasty sauce. And then we're going to be adding in 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar. Alright guys, if you're worried about heat, this gochujang, while it is a red pepper paste, it's not packed full of blind heat. We've got a lot of sweetness, we've got some tartness, we've got umami. It's a full-on flavor experience that just cannot be described with words. And in this container is 1/8 of a cup of low-sodium soy, regular will work, and 1/8 of a cup of mirin. If you don't have mirin, then Shaoxing wine or sherry cooking wine will work. And if you can't tell by my interesting choice of mise en place containers, I've used literally every dish in the house, and this is just what I've got left. So we're going to give all these nice ingredients a beautiful stir, reduce the heat to a medium-low. After about 5 minutes, reducing the heat as needed and stirring constantly. Again, you really can't leave this, otherwise it will burn. We have a beautiful, thick, and simmering gochujang sauce. So the only thing that's left to do now is to take it completely off the heat and then add our freshly cooked chicken to the wok, giving it a nice strong toss and, well, helping it out at times with the spoon until our beautiful chicken pieces are fully coated. And then we're going to lace them onto our platter, shaking off any excess gochujang, and then we're simply going to garnish with some sesame seeds and the remaining fresh cut chives. This has been a journey, but take a look at what we've done. This is an absolute showstopper. You can't tell me your crew will not be impressed by this incredible spread on any game day or Super Bowl Sunday. Let's give it a taste. Alright guys, and that is it. This is the plate. We've done a lot of things tonight that we've never done before. There's 4 different wings, 4 different flavors, and I think this turned out alright. Now some of this chicken is cold because it took me about 3.5 hours to make this video. But the thing is you don't have to make all of these if you don't want. I've given you 4 incredible options to feed your guests for any sort of sporting event, football gathering, Super Bowl event, you know, so that way you don't have to go out and spend extra money on these places that charge way too much for food you can make at home. Plus, we made a killer ranch dip. Alright, so enough of the talk, let's try this. We're going to go with the OG. This is the one that everyone is going to judge you for. This is the original buffalo wing. It did lose its crisp because it's been in the sauce for so long. There's no way it could have retained that crispiness. But if we had gotten this out of the fryer, and you know, eating it after it was freshly tossed in that Frank's, this would have been absolutely killer. Frank's will never let you down. It's just the OG of wings, and if you don't have it or don't know how to make it, then you're not going to have a good party. Perfect. Alright, a plain breaded wing ding for the people with a weak palate, afraid of spice and afraid of flavor, but you know what? These are good for everybody. Great for kids, too. That's incredible flavor. You can't go wrong with these. Alright, so I need to put the poultry down and try out the ranch. This is our house-made ranch. Now, I don't dip meats in ranch, but veggies we can go for. We were aiming for like a refrigerated ranch dip type quality, which is like the only ranch that I'll eat. Guys, hidden belly can suck it. We've done something better than that tonight. This is the freshest, most incredible tasting ranch dip I've ever had in my life. We didn't use any prepackaged seasonings or anything. This is my first time making this. I can double dip in this because, oops. Well, never mind, I can't because I dropped my celery. Alright, moving on to the garlic parm wing. I am psyched to try this. Still crispy, buttery, garlicky. And it's been out for a while, and it's still crispy. The dry brine has added so much in terms of moisture to the meat. The flavor is unreal. The crisp. And now, with the Korean wing. Oh my God. If you aren't making a mess eating wings, you're doing it wrong. Hands down my favorite wing of the night. Korean gochujang wings. I was fully expecting this platter to leave me leftovers, but it is pretty much rated empty right now. You can see that. But that tells you, one, how quickly they disappear, because these just were done. And guys, if they disappeared like this in under 30 minutes at my house, we're going to go even quicker, which is proven how good these are. Until next time, guys, if there's more wing varieties, we can do a lot more with wings. We can do more platters. This is just the first volume, okay? Anything you want to see come to this segment, just comment them down below. And you know I love making viewer requests. We will continue Viewer Request Month next week. And guys, this segment's going to be carrying on until Super Bowl. So if there's something you want to see, something that can enhance your tailgate, something that can enhance your Super Bowl party, let me know and we'll make it happen. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.